Okay, we're recording.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Yelena, and this is our second Watson Analytics session. So here is the agenda for tonight. We are going to talk about analyzing data from Twitter. We're going to talk about more varieties of data visualizations per request. And then we're going to do some dashboards and infographics, and we're going to put this together into a nice storybook. I'll show you the Analytics Exchange site where you can get a lot of sample storybooks. It's always good to see the ideas. And I'll show you how to work in a team, how you're going to share files with each other on your last assignment. And this is a bonus. For paying undivided attention, I'm going to show you how to join two datasets. And I'm going to show you some useful resources, and then, of course, questions and answers. Now, here, this is very important, right? You're not going to use forward and back button. There is no recycle bin. Whenever you delete something, it is gone forever. And you're going to use the menu, right? You're going to use this menu, navigation menu. Now, I'm going to share my screen, right? So I'll be doing slides and hands-on in parallel. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, right? All right. So now you can see it, hopefully. So remember, you have the personal area and the shared area. Personal area is your work. Only you can see it, and of course the system administrator. Now, uh, in order to add the data, you click on New Data. Up until today, you were working with the local files, you were working with the sample data sets, but today we're going to work with the Twitter data. So I'm going to click on Twitter. Now, here I need to enter my search criteria, and I can enter up to 10 hashtags, right? So what I do is I put a hash, and then I put what I want to search for. And let's suppose that Elena likes to eat pasta, and she wants to see what other people say about pasta. Now, here I need to show you something important. If I was going to enter more than 2 keywords, I have an option. I want to say that the search that gets returned has to include all of the keywords or at least one of them, right? So here I have options. Now, I'm going to keep all languages, and here by default it's going to look for tweets in 1 week. This is 1 week window. And let's scroll it down. The dataset name, by default, it's going to be the same as the hashtags that I entered, but you can always change it. Now, before you do anything further, you want to click to see the estimate. So this is the number of tweets that I have for 1 week. If I did not have enough, I would have gone here and I would have changed my dates. These dates are adjustable, right? But by default, it's 1 week, right? Alright, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to hit import. And when I do this, I'll be redirected to landing page personal area. This is my personal area, and does this look familiar? This little globe, it's now processing. So when it's processing, it's trying to identify the relationship between variables. And this useful resource is in the slides. So here, this is what the data is going to look like. You're going to see the tweet, and then this is an information. It's going to say if the tweet is a reply to another person's tweet, then you're going to see the author's name, you're going to see the author favorite count, and a followers count, listed count, and so on, right? So this is called metadata. That's the data about your tweet. And language, then here you have the author information. Sentiment, this is basically the tone, and in here you have 5 values: positive, negative, neutral, ambivalent, and unknown, right? So, and here other fields include how the message was posted, and you have the message timestamp, and of course location, right? So let's go back here. So that's downloading. Well, the the data quality score is going to look a little bit on the low side. Oh yes, definitely. Chad, excellent questions. I will post that link, and that link is going to be in the presentation. The PowerPoint presentation that you're going to receive after this class, it's going to have that link that I just showed you, the dataset description, with data description. And it does not matter what search criteria you use, the field names are going to be the same. So now if you go ahead and click on refine, you're going to see how your data looks like. And I want to point something out. And so notice that, do you remember you have a tweet location? So if you scroll down, the tweet location is a country, and it's a city within the country, it's a state within the country if it's United States, and then you've got the city, right? So it's in here, if you see that, oops. Anyway, so you've got the country, right? And now I'll explain to you why it's important. You have a country, and within the country, if it's United States or Canada, you've got the state, and within the state, you have the city, right? So this is called the hierarchy. Even if you look here, you will see it. Watson Analytics identified it for you. It identified it for you, but if it did not, I can always build it. See this? This is called a hierarchy. So if I click here, I could edit it, right? If I click on a pencil, I could edit it, but see this is the top level, country, state, and city. This becomes very important when I'm working on a map visualization. But if I did not have one, I could just create it, right? Just suppose if I had a county, well, I don't have it in this data, but if I wanted to add county within the city, or rather county above the city, right, I could do that too. I could just click on add level right here, right? So I don't want to add anything. Now, as I'm pointed out on the slide, and you will have a copy, that you can do similar operations that you've done. Like you can click here and you can filter it by values, right? And you can create the calculated columns, and you can create the data groups. You can do most of the stuff that you have been doing so far, right? So right now, let's go to the landing page, and I'm going to work on I'm going to show you the map. So here, this is my data set, right? I click on it, and now I'm going to be presented with things that I might be interested in, right? Here it is. So here it's going to count the number of authors per country. This is the map. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to show me. All right. So let me explain what you see here. Here you can use your map shows the location, right? The color code stands for the number of authors. The darker the color, the more authors you have, right? But what I could also do is, well, I could go ahead and change. I want to see the number of tweets. I could do that too. I could change my variable. I can do the number of tweets, perhaps, right? If I wanted to. But let's just keep it authors for right now. So, all right. Yes. Do you have a question? Somebody raised their hand. Do you have a question? No? Okay. Yes? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Type your question. I'm going to look up the chat. Now I'm going to open up the chat. Go ahead. What's the question? Let me know. Yeah, chat, go ahead. Ask questions. I like questions. So, well, okay. Other the city and county, well, the cities are geospecific, and I'll show you when we go into drill down. This is geospecific. So Watson Analytics identified that in fact I have the in fact Watson Analytics identified that my data set has a location data. Yes. So if you're in Italy and you see the tweet pasta, right? Then it's gonna count, right? You're gonna know which authors live in Italy. So if there are any tweets from Italy, it will be labeled on this map. Like, see here, I've got India, I have Indonesia, I have Australia. I believe there should be a certain number in there, so some minimum threshold for this to be labeled. But yes, most likely you will see the country name. Yes. So this is part of the internal implementation that we cannot see. Yes, it's geography specific. See this, United States? And this is what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to right click on this. And when I right click on this, I can drill down. And now I'm going to see my data broken down by states. See this? Now it's broken down by states. And I could further break it down by the city. I'll show you. Right? But unfortunately for the city, it will not be able to show them on a map. It's because what I've read is we're supposed to have at least 80%. You're supposed to have data for at least 80%, I think. But anyhow, now let's take a look at this. The color code of the state shows the number of authors. I can do more, right? I can add additional dimensions to the puzzle. I can show a little bubble in the middle, and I can have the bubble size represent another variable, and bubble color represent something else. So let me check something. Now here we have, see this about the authors, we have the retweet count, right? And we have the number of friends, right? So let's do this. Let me drag this here. So the more friends the author has, the bigger is going to be the bubble, right? The more friends, and this is going to be the average, I think. Average number of friends. Oh no, actually it's count. Okay, it's count. So what it's doing in here, it's taking the total number of friends. It's looking at how many friends each author has, and it's doing the total, because see this aggregation type, it's doing the count. It's doing the count, right? So now what else I'm going to do is I'm going to add another dimension, and I'm going to add the retweet count, right? So that's going to drive the color. So I have what? How many variables I have here, right? Basically 5, right? I've got the author, number of authors, I've got the location, I have the friends count, and I have retweets count, right? And then I can even break down further. I can have a separate copy of this map per gender. This is called a multiplier. Several people ask me what multiplier is. Basically, I have a map, a single map, right? And it does not matter what the person gender is. But what I could do is I could break it apart. I could have a separate map for females, separate map for males, and this is a gender unknown, right? What I could also do is I could click here and I could uncheck unknown gender. I could filter it out. I can keep only male and female. See this? I keep only male and female, right? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to call this, I'm going to do rename, and I'm going to call this map or gender. I'll just do it this way, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of this. I click here. To make a copy of this tab, you have to say duplicate. I'm going to make another tab. Right? It's going to be a copy, but I'm going to make some changes for right now. I'm going to delete this multiplier. I want to remove that. And I'm going to show you the drill down. I removed the multiplier because I wanted to have a bigger picture of a map. I wanted to show you. I want to make sure you can see it. So let me right click on this. And now I can go further down and it will show me breakdown by the cities. In this case, it was unable to do the map. And see this, if I click on it, it says we cannot show the map, the info. And then when I click on more info, see this? A map could not be created because less than 80% of locations, because 80% of location maps. In other words, I have less than 80% of cities in my data. So that's why. Let's think of it this way. Watson Analytics has some kind of like internal list of locations, and it's gonna match what you have in the data set against that list to build them up, right? Let's just think of it in terms of big picture. And now here you could adjust, you could zoom in and zoom out, right? So if you are taking screenshots for your assignment, you can zoom in, zoom out. Just make sure you can pick whatever looks better for you, and you can even adjust the formatting. You can change the colors, you can put the border around. Like what I could do this, see this border, and I can add a border. I can do anything I want to do with it, right? And then suppose that I don't want the border. This is my friend right here, undo, right? So very important, I need to save it. Always save your work, right? And it's going to be in a personal folder, and I'm gonna I'll call it pasta discovery, right? And I'm gonna go ahead and save it. So yes, if Italy was here, and then if Italy was is in a list, right, list of locations implemented internally, then I would have seen it. I would expect to see this in a map, right? So here, let me go ahead and rename this. I want to see it, this is California, right? And you need to keep descriptive names, and it will make more sense why when we start doing the dashboards, right? So now what I could do, let's do more visualizations. Oops, let's save it again. Now we're gonna do more visualizations, and let me click on this plus sign. And some of you've asked me explicitly to do there is a visualization that you use to show the relationships, and this is called network visualization. So this visualization is used to show if I want to see perhaps if there is a relationship between the tweet source and the term polarity and the sentiment rather, right? So what I have to do is I have to find my fields first, right? So sentiment polarity, right? So I'm going to drag it here. And another one, I need to find this. I think there was the field that tells you how it was posted. Was it via LinkedIn or was it via yeah, so let me see. And it's not, this is the author information. This is the tweet count. This is friend count. This is the time zone, right? So that's not it. I've got the gender. This is the actual message text and posted from. There we go. So now this is what I'm gonna see here. Different color code, right? For the source and the target. And here, what I want to do is I want to do the count. The number of tweets is going to be the line width. So, if I hover my mouse, I will see, see this? Okay, so now, look at this. Sentiment, oh, this is not what I want. I put the wrong feed, right? I want to put sentiment rather than sentiment positive signals. So to change the field, what you have to do is you just click on that arrow and then you scroll down, or you can search for the field here. I'm gonna select sentiment. That's what I want for right now. There we go. So now the green bubble is a sentiment polarity, right? Positive. And this little red dot is a source, the tweet source, right? So how did I post my tweet, right? What tool did I use to post my tweet, and so on, right? Yeah. So now here, the thicker the line, the more tweets were posted this way, right? For example, suppose that I posted it from the cell phone, and suppose that the sentiment is positive. So I'm going to have a line between the cell phone and a positive, right? And the more tweets I have that were posted this way, the thicker the line. Some of you asked me what the line length represents. Nothing really. I believe it's more at random. But what you also could do is you can zoom in and zoom out just to see it better. And you could also filter it out. Like, for example, posted from, right? Sometimes I might be interested only in certain sources. I could just go here and I could uncheck what I don't want, right? So this is for you to play around with, but I'm going to name this, I'm going to name it as relationship between sentiment and source. Right? So here we go. So now what I'm going to do more visualizations, because we have to have more to build the storybook, and we'll get to it. So now I'm going to click on the new tab, and we're going to do the time, number of tweets over time, right? So I have to find something like a timeline. I don't see it by default, so let me do this. I can rather type by day. I'm typing by day, and let's see what happens. Search. Oh, it's because I have to close out from this. It's because I have to close out from this view. That's why. So now I'm going to type by day. There we go. And now let's see what's gonna happen. And okay, what is the distribution? Okay, let me go ahead and select it, and I can always change the fields. I'll show you. I can always change what am I counting. Here, this here, it's gonna show me the average. Right now it's showing the average number of tweets in general per author, but that's not what I want. I'm going to change it. I'm going to change it in a few. Here, this axis here is going to show me the date. Remember, we're looking at October. October 23rd, October 24th, 25th, 26th, and so on. Right? So now, what I'll do here, that's not what I want. I don't care how many tweets the author posted in general. Instead, I want to see the number of tweets, right? So I'm going to do tweets, and see, I want to know how many tweets were posted on a certain day, right? Right now, what I see is a bar chart. What I see now is a bar chart, right? And right now, it's the same color code. Alternatively, what I could do is I could represent, let me show you here, color. I want to select the sentiment, and I want to use a different color code for sentiment. So I'm going to select sentiment here. Alright, so what it did right now is it's showing me the number of posts of each sentiment per day, right? Here it is. This is not stacked bar chart. What I also could do is I could go in here, format, and I can do go to variations, and I can select stacked. I can go to variations and I can select stacked, right? Sometimes the reason I want to do it is because I want to see the total, and I want to be able to see it visually, right? Relatively. So I know here on the 25th, mostly unknown sentiment, right? The next one was probably neutral and then positive. Very little negative, right? Very little. So alright. So let's do this. Let's save this. And I'm going to call it post by day. Sorry. It's going to be called post by day, right? So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a copy. And I'll show you something else what I can do here. Okay, so see this visualization, and I can change it. Instead of showing the bars, I can do the area. And now it's gonna show me area like this, see? And let me change this. I'm gonna rename it post by day area. Oops. Rename. Right? So basically, I could even play around. I could do the separate one per gender, right? I can add a multiply if I wanted to. And in fact, I could even add more than one field, right? So if I added post type, perhaps, right? If it was a original post or reply, and if I added gender, right? I could add more than one if I wanted to. So, and I'm showing this because some people asked me what the multiplier will do. See this? So I have two post types. I have actual post and I have share. Yes. Oh yes, yes. This is another example. See this? Post and share. And now what I'm gonna do is, I'm also add another one. And I'm gonna do the gender. See this? Let me show you what happens. Yes. See this what happens? Right now, it's showing me the posts. See this? I see posts, I see share, and I see further breakdown, female, male, and unknown. See this? This is what it did. I have not one, not two, but 6. If I add another one, the number of plots here would multiply by the number of values that another variable has. But this is really cluttered. This is what I could do. I could eliminate the unknowns, right? I want to look only where the gender is known. There we go, right? So, and yeah, let's just keep it like this, right? We're gonna keep it this way. So now what I'll do is I'm going to save this, right? So what I did here, I added 2 variables into the multiplier, and I filtered out the unknown, right? Alternatively, what you could also do is you could change the variable just by clicking here, right? You could change the variable you're looking at just by clicking. Or what I did was I used here, I clicked on the arrow here to do that, right? What you also could do is you could further filter your data just by clicking here. Like for example, I wanted to see people in a certain time zone, so I could just select this. Remember, this is a data trace. This is similar to the refined interface. The main difference is that what I change is applicable only to this specific workbook. It will not apply to all data sets, right? So let me clear this, right? And remember, this interface is similar to refine. See this? I can slide this open and then I can close this, right? And you can do similar operations. You can add the calculation, you can add the data group, and you can add the hierarchy. But as you can see here, another hierarchy that Watson created for me is the date. Because I could further break down the date by hour, or I could go up the hierarchy, month and year. If I was looking at the longer time frame, right? Because some search criteria that you enter might not have sufficient amount of tweets, then you could set the date back. You might be looking for a month, you might be looking for a year, alright? So now let me go ahead and save this. And now we're going to create a display. So most of you, this is going to be review, but let me click here, and we're going to go to the display. And I'm going to do both. I'm going to do display and infographic. And what I did was, in a slide, I summarized the difference for you. But it's always easier to understand when you see it, right? So we're going to do this new display. And right now I'm going to do the dashboard. When I create the dashboard, right, the dashboard can have more than one tab. And I can apply a filter to each tab separately, or I can apply a filter to all tabs, right? I can divide my visualizations into subsets. Each subset goes in a separate tab, right? Now here, this is important because, see this? So right now what I can do is I can add a discovery that I just created, right? Or I can create a new discovery. But the reason you want to, this is another reason you want to save all your work in a personal area or in a group area, is because somebody like Elena might not be careful. She's going to go to shared, and she's going to find something that somebody saved in the wrong place, drag and drop to her dashboard. And she may go in and modify. She could do something. And then when you log back in, you'll be puzzled. Who modified my work, right? So that's one reason. Another reason is because it's hard to tell whose file it is. It's going to be a big mess, right? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go to personal, and I'm going to find my pasta discovery. I have to click on the arrow, and when I do that, I'm going to see each of these corresponds to a tab, right? This is a separate tab. So what I have to do is I have to drag and drop. So let's pick something like this, which you want to put your cursor on top of the arrow. And it's much easier. You don't need to resize the visualization. So I've got this, and now I'm gonna drag and drop this one right here, right? Now what I could do is I could click on I could do that, or I could even create. Okay. All right. So now let's go ahead and select this one. Okay. I'm selecting this one, and let's get into a good habit of renaming the tabs, right? So now keep in mind, you want this name to be descriptive. And for the purpose of building the storybook, the number of tabs in each dashboard matters. The number of tabs matters. And also the order in which you put the tabs matters. So when you work on your storybook for assignment, you want to plan, right? You want to plan. So let's call this, I'm going to call it tab 1, but this is not a descriptive name. I'm just doing it for the demonstration purposes, right? So now if I want to scroll up, right? I want to scroll up here. And now I wanted to show you that what you could do also, you could click on New Discovery. And when you click on the New Discovery, oops, it worked yesterday. Anyhow, see this? I clicked on New Discovery. It's going to work right now. This is equivalent to being on. Do you remember your landing page, how it looks like? The landing page where I have my data? This is what it's similar to right now, right? I'm going to click on my data set right now, and I'm going to create new discovery, and that new discovery will be added to my it will be added to my dashboard. I'm gonna pick the sentiment. I want to see what drives sentiment, and it's gonna be added straight to my dashboard. So right now I'm in a focus mode. When you click on this guy here, you're in a focus mode, and it's taking a little bit of time to compute. it's going to calculate what actually drives sentiment. For some reason, mostly it's the language. Most of the time, the driver seems to be the language. Author gender and the number of tweets, apparently, the author favorite counts. Currently, I see all my drivers a single variable. Right now, this is new. I could toggle, I could uncheck, right? I could uncheck. So sometimes if you don't see any drivers showing up, make sure that these two buttons are checked. Make sure that it's checked, because as I just demonstrated, when I unchecked it, I could not see anything. If I do this, I don't see anything, right? Let me check it back. And so notice that I'm in a focus mode, and I can see the same interface that I would see in my discovery, right? And I can go to the format, and I can do anything I want to do with this, right? I can select the colors, I can change how things look like, and I can add the border. So let's add the border, right? I'm just adding the border just so that we know that we created it on the fly. And I'm going to minimize this, right? Oh, another thing what you could do, you could also run a search. If your data set has a lot of variables, a lot of counts, right? If you have a lot of drivers here, you could run a search. Now let's minimize this guy here, and we are going to save this, right? I'm going to save it, and I'm going to add a new tab. Oops. Yeah, you always want to save it now. For now, save it in the personal area. I'm going to add a new tab, and I'm going to put a map here. So like this, and I'm going to my discovery, and this is the map per gender. So let's do that, and I'm gonna call it tab 2. I realize it's not a descriptive name, but this is for the demonstration purposes. So I've got this, and what did I do? Is this a descriptive dartboard name? No, it's not, right? So let's do this. Let's go ahead and save it. We're going to save it first. Now we're going to close it. We're going to close it, and we're going to the landing page. Look how you rename it. You're going to click here, and you're going to select rename from this menu. And I'm going to call it Pasta Dashboard, right? I call it Pasta Dashboard, and I'm going to hit rename. Now what we're going to do is we're going to create an infographic. Look here. I hit on new display, and I'll select an infographic. One of the main differences is that you don't have tabs. It's going to be one long page, right? So that's the main difference. And I hit create, and here I can select my layout, right? And now, similar to the dashboard, I will drag and drop my visualization into each slot, and ultimately I can create a new discovery here, right? So that way I don't need to go back to discovery, right? But this is what I'm wondering about. I'm wondering if what if I want to reuse the discovery for another workbook, right? Well, if this is the case, then you have to create it as a discovery, right? So you need to think ahead of time here, right? It's a lot of, it may take some planning. So now let's go ahead and let's go to personal, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to add this map, the California map. And what's interesting is that it does not have to be from the same data set. What you add, it could come from different data sets. Like for illustration purposes, what I did here yesterday, I played around with the visualizations, also pasta, but I looked at data in a different range. So let's go ahead and let's add some visualizations from here. So what I have here is that I have a pie chart. Let's go ahead and add this. And the pie chart, let me zoom in. This is in the focus mode. Pie chart is useful when you want to show the proportion, right? So for example, I can see that 1/3 of my tweets have a unknown sentiment, right? So but pie chart could become hard to read when you have a lot of values, right? However, this is very good visualization tool to see the proportions. And see here, you can choose to display percentages, but I don't see a percentage here. It could be because the slice is too small. The slice is too small, right? So let me exit the focus mode, and I'm gonna put more visualizations. So if I scroll down, this visualization is called the heat map. So what I did here, let me get up. So I have two axes, right? So I have the sentiment. Each column is a sentiment, and each row is a year. And the color code the color code represents the number of tweets. Well, actually, this is not a year, it's a date. It's a hierarchy. Remember, I have a hierarchy breakdown that goes year, month within a year, day within a month, and hour within a day. So right now, this displays by the date, right? And it goes up to yesterday and the 22nd, because the default is 1 week, and because I ran it yesterday. So if you do this search, right, if you do what I did today, if you do that tomorrow, by default it's going to be 31st through 24th, and you would need to adjust the dates if you want to see the different dates. And the color code represents the relative number of tweets, right? And this is you look at the intersection, right? See this, you're looking at the intersection of the column and the row to find out on which day we're looking at. And if you hover your mouse here, you're going to see the number of tweets. In this case, it's 78. And you can even right-click. If you right-click, I believe you can see more information. Oh yeah, if I right-click, see this, you have a group up and group down. If I group down, it's going to show me the by hour. I expected to see by hour. See this? It's because it's a hierarchy. This is the second example of the hierarchy that Watson Analytics identified for me. So here the breakdown goes not just by the date, it's by hour. Suppose that I don't want to do it by hour. I have to right-click, right? I need to right-click, and then I have to go up. Oops. Do you remember how I get into this? Oops, I was there. Here. Anyway, in order to get there, you have to right-click and then select ellipses. Sometimes you have to click out and then click back in. If you click out and click back in, then it's gonna work, right? Anyway, so I showed you how to do that, right? You can do the drill down and drill up, right? And you can sometimes, if what you're looking at is not there, and you can define your own custom hierarchies, right? And I believe it was in the class that you took, Watson Analytics class that you took, they showed you how to do that, right? They showed you how to build the hierarchy, but just in case, in slides, I wrote down the steps for you. Let me go ahead and minimize this. I minimize this, and let's add one more. But when you keep on adding a lot of visualizations, keep in mind that eventually when you're looking at the storybook, things could get cluttered, right? So that's something to keep in mind. So here, this is a table visualization. This is a table, and what I have here is that sentiment, right? So here, this is going to be every row shows a value of a sentiment, and this is the number of tweets. I'm counting the tweets, right? Ultimately, I could do a separate table for country, just perhaps, I'm just giving you an example. Or I could add another variable, right, as a multiplier. So how many dimensions you have? You actually have what? Two, right? Because you have a measure and you have a multiplier, right? And here, this exclamation, oh, it says that something could not be shown in the visualization. That's fine. Let's just minimize this. All right. So now I'm done with this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save it. And notice that here, of course, I cannot name my tab. It's because there are no tabs. There's just one. Here, what else you could do is you could hide the filters area so that it will help you see the visualizations better. And now what I'll do is I'm going to hit save. Yes, and the save as, and I'm gonna name it as pasta infographic. Come on, pasta. And looks like, look at this, there is a spell check here. For some reason, it's not finding infographic in the dictionary. Well, that's fine, I'll just leave it like this. I'm gonna hit save. Okay, so now I'm done with this part, right? What I'll have to do right now, let's go back to the landing page, and we're gonna look at the expert storybooks. So now I have a bunch of visualizations, and I have my customer. And how am I going to present my findings? If I show my customer several dashboards, my customer will be confused. What am I looking at? In what order do I need to look at this, right? So the storybook will take care of it for you. You click on the new display, expert storybook, and very important, this functionality is available in the academic edition under my subscription. So make sure that you're using an account that was created for this class to take advantage of this expert storybook functionality. And I'm going to call this pasta storybook, right? I'm gonna hit create. Let's see, it might let me bypass it. Yes, it let me bypass it. Pasta. Here, Elena sometimes need to learn how to spell. Alright, so here, this is a storybook name. Well, I'll rename it later, but for right now, let's just save it. This is a storybook name. Here, I can add a description if I wanted to, and in fact, I would add it if I was doing it for the customer. And here, I can click here, and I can find a nice picture. And I can put a picture here, right? So this is the picture of the pasta in the background. So now this is called the thumbnail. Very important. Right now you're going to be dragging the infographics and dashboards and dashboards here. The order in which you put your dashboards and infographic is going to be the order in which the user will see things. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. But for right now, let's find our display. For some reason at the moment, okay, here it is. So this is our, pasta infographic and pasta dashboard. I'm gonna put the dashboard first, which I just drag and drop. And now I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna drag and drop my infographic. What I could do is I could add the thumbnail. So I can tap here and then I can just select a picture that I want from here, and then I have to click on OK. OK, yeah. Alright. What I could also do is, this is called the annotation. basically what's going to happen is that when my customer previews my storybook, this is a note that they are going to see. Let me call it, see this, I just put section 2, right? And add explanation. Very important, you need to add the explanation, otherwise the comment that you put in won't be said, right? You could also add notes to the visualizations, but when you do that, well, be careful, and I'll show you why. So here I'm going to add my note, let's say unknown. Right? I can add comments to my plot actually. Unknown. Right? But we need to be careful because there is a new functionality that was added. You can actually reload the data, right? You can refresh the data. Especially if you're running it for Twitter, you can rerun it against another criterion, another time period. But what if another time period does not have unknown sentiment, right? So then your node is no longer be valid. So when you add the node here, keep that in mind, that it is possible to reload the data set, right? It is possible to look at another sample, right? So now let's go ahead and click OK for right now. So now we're going to be redirected to the storybook main page. And so see this, whenever I preview my storybook, this will be displayed first, and this will be displayed second. And unfortunately, once you put it in, I'm not sure if it's possible to move. Maybe it's possible. Oh, yes it is right now. It was not earlier. Well, anyhow, what I wanted to suggest is that before you do it, actually, you want to take some time to plan it. In which order do you want your customer, right? When in this case, your customer is probably going to be your instructor or TA, right? In which, if your teaching assistant logs in to your folder, especially when you're doing a group project, it's highly possible that your teaching assistant may log in and check what the team has created in your shared folder. Why not, right? I can go into my session 9042 and look at what my students have created. I like to see the student work, right? There we go. I'll save it now. Let me save it. And now, right now, I'm in the edit mode, right? Right now, I'm in the edit mode. But let's see what the viewer will see it, right? To preview it, I have to click on the glasses, and that will put me on a view mode. So now, this is called Expert Tab Findings. This is called all of this will be called Expert Tab Findings. I click on it. What is this? This is a tab in my dashboard. Secretly, this is a tab that I had in my dashboard. So how you name the tabs, it matters, because this is what I'm going to see here. Very important. Presentation is a very important part. So how you name your tabs, right? It's the same name will appear here. Here, to navigate, I can go to the second tab, right? So those are two tabs. And here I click the arrow to go to my second finding, right? I click on the arrow to go to my second finding. So I should see it too. And do you remember that we put an annotation section too? It appears here. Now, one thing I wanted to tell you is that the more visualizations you put on a page, the longer the page might take to load. So when you're planning it, keep that in mind. Now here, this is another annotation, and I can, if I click on it, I should see it. I should see unknown. As a user, I have an option to hide the annotations, but hiding annotations will hide only annotations on a visualization. It won't hide this. To hide this, I will just need to click here on this arrow. Something else I need to show. It shows two data sets. It's because I used the data set that we collected today, and I also used another data set that I played around with yesterday. So the same storybook may have more than one data set. When I click here, see this? I can expand it, and I can see actually which data sets are used in each visualization, in each storybook, in each, not storybook, what do you call it, infographic, dashboard. So now take a look at this. I have pasta and I have pasta practice. Those are two data sets. So now if I select pasta practice, over here it's going to give me the list of drop downs where I used, it's going to give me the list of drop downs where I used that specific data set, and I used it in two, right? I used it twice. Ultimately, I can go and I can change that. Oh, rather look at it this way. Look at it this way. When I select the dashboard, rather, when I select the visualization, it's going to show me, it's going to give me the list of data sets that I used to build that visualization. It's the other way around. See this? I select this, and here I see only pasta. It's because I did not use my other data set for this specific visualization. See this pasta dashboard? And here it shows me the data. This is the data that was used to build visualizations on my dashboard. And I can click here on I to get more information about the data. So see that this is the pasta data, and the data was collected today, and I used this data to create the pasta dashboard and pasta infographic, right? On the other hand, see this? So here, right now, I can select this one, pasta practice, and it shows me the information that I only used it for the infographic. This is something that I was doing yesterday. I was trying to check what's possible, what's not, because Watson Analytics are doing the updates, right, frequent. But earlier, about 5 minutes ago, I mentioned replacing the data. Take a look at this. So I have pasta practice here. What I could do if I wanted, I could click on replace, and I could rerun the data set for a different criteria. But right now, I cannot do it at, well, what it's doing is it's giving me a warning. This is a warning. It's telling me that I have an expert storybook. So if I replaced it, it will affect the whole storybook, right? This is a warning, right? It's giving me a warning. It's telling me that this data set is in use, right? Look at this here. Those are the two displays that use this data set. So the change I make will take effect on all visualizations where this data set is used. That's what it's saying. It's not an error message, it's a warning. So let me hit, I'm going to hit continue. I'm not going to actually replace it, but I wanted to show you how to do it. I could refresh using previous selection, right? Or I could go to here, I can run more selection and then click import. I'm not going to do it, but if I was going to run it for a different date range, I could just select a different date range and click import. I'm going to cancel, right? So, again, how did I get here? Let's minimize this. I'm right now in the view mode. I click on here, and then, see this? This is a dataset name that currently I'm looking at here, and I click on replace. This is what I did, right? So let's close this out. So now I'm an end user. I looked at your visualizations that you provided, and well, what if I want something more? what, there is something, there could be something that I want to look at and it's not here. This is what I can do. This is home button. I can click on a home button and then it will take me to the storybook landing page. Do you see this? I can ask a question. Well, I promise I'm not going to do that, but this is an activity that could keep us up until morning. I'm not going to do this, I promise, but take a look at this. When you click on ask a question, it's going to load more starting point for me. And behind the scene, let me show you, it's going to create another discovery for me, right? So this time I'm going, let's do show next, and I'm going to do, which one do you want me to do? Any preferences? I call it customer service. Well, I can do this one, right? So this is just basically the, okay, and let's give it a descriptive name. Let's see, it's still loading. So this one, this is a country, right? So here actually I've got the language, right? And it's giving me the author friend count, and it's doing it. Take a look at this. I have multiple variables in here. I have the rectangle size, right? I have the rectangle color code, and then I've got this axis here, which is a gender, right? I'm broken down by gender. So here, this size, right here, this is the author followers count, and the color code stands for the author friends count, right? So basically I have 4 variables here. I'm looking at 4, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and save this. I'm gonna rename this, and I'm gonna say, let's say, I'm gonna call it followers, and I'm gonna call this I'm gonna call it pasta discovery 2. Okay, well, see this? I can right click and it gives me the options to correct the spelling error. Now let me go ahead and save this. Alright, I saved it. So this is my second discovery, but the problem is I cannot add the discoveries to the dashboard, to the storybook directly. I have to create the either infographic or the dashboard, right? So let's click out here. Let's quickly go to the display, and I'm gonna hit new display, and I'm gonna call this as pasta dashboard 2, right? And I select the dashboard and I'm gonna hit create. There we go. So this is my second dashboard, and I'm just gonna click. And now what I have to do is I need to go to the personal, and I'm going to find my pasta discovery. Even though I have only one tab, it does not matter. I still have to click on the arrow here. There we go. And you always want to name the tab, because if I leave it as untitled, it's going to show as untitled, right? So let me do this. There we go. So now I'm ready. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to add this to my storybook. But the whole idea is that as a customer, when I'm using the storybook, I can add my own visualizations, right? I can just click on ask question, add my own visualizations to it, or I can explore the existing visualizations. So here, remember, this is a list of what I have already open. And Yelena misspelled. She put past instead of pasta, but that's all right. So now let's go back to the landing page here, and I'm going to click on my storybook. Now what I could do, I have to click on the pencil because right now I'm in view mode. In order to add something to the storybook, I need to be in the edit mode, and I'm going to my displays, and now it's loading the displays. When it's finished loading, here we go, and I'm gonna go to this pasta. There should be something called pasta display too. That's the one we just created, right? So one enhancement that I would want to put in is that adding a search. That would be really helpful, right? So pasta. And speaking of enhancements, well, anyway, so what I need to do right now, I need to find it, and then I just drag and drop and edit, right? And I made a promise that I'm not gonna keep you awake all night. But the whole idea is that I can keep on creating visualizations, and I can keep on adding to my here. I can keep on adding it, right? I can find another. And in fact, it does not even have to be the same dataset that I use. I can add something from any dataset. Well, see here, what the problem is that because I'm an administrator, I can see all of the shared folders from the last semesters. You're not gonna see that because you're not gonna get access. You're gonna get access to your session, and I'll show you what will happen. But let me scroll, and anyway, there should be personal, and then in the personal area I should have the display that I just created, right? It should be in there. Ooh, I just saw it. Okay. Anyway, what I was trying, the point is that you can, when you have a storybook, you can analyze, you can look at existing visualizations, or you can ask your own questions, create a new discovery, and then just drag and drop to add it to your storybook, right? Okay, so now let's go back. Let me show you something. What I was talking about, the groups. This is your personal area. This is what you see, right? For your last assignment, you're going to be split into groups. What I will do is, this is a shared area, and I'm going to have more instructions on this, but this is important. What you see here is a directory. What I see here is a content of the current folder. I click on a shared. Now, we make a rule, nobody's going to be saving files at the root of the shared folder, because anything saved in the wrong place will be deleted. So now, when I expand the shared folder, what you will see is that you will see the folder for your session. For example, if you are enrolled in a session 9040, if you're one of the students in 9040 session, you will see session 9040 folder. You will need to click on that folder, right? You click on that folder, you click here to expand it, and you will see your group. Just for this demonstration purposes, I'm going to pretend that I'm taking Professor Moretta's class, and that I'm her student, and she put me in a group 1. Okay? Now I'm just pretending it for the purpose of this demonstration. So here, this is what I do to see the files that my team has uploaded. This is a folder, and you're gonna have permission to see your group folder. You're not gonna see the folder for the group 2. It's because you're a member of group 1. If you see the folder for the wrong group, contact me, and it's very easy to fix. Alright? So here is my group. Right now there is nothing in there because I have not moved it. So right now, this is what I'll do. I'm gonna go to my personal area. I created something, and I'm ready to share it with my team, right? And I'm ready to share the dataset. Very important. There is a dependency between discovery and a dataset. If I share the discovery with my team, I must share the dataset. Otherwise, my teammates will be getting an error. In order for them to be able to open the discovery, they have to be able to open the dataset. And it cannot be a different copy of the file with the same name. No. See that? If I was going to upload this file, pasta discovery 2, to the shared folder, right, I must upload this guy here, this copy. It does not matter. See that if my folder had another file with the same name, no, it's not gonna work. It's because each file has internal identification number, and every guy here is associated with this guy here. If I make a stupid mistake, if I delete this data, do you know what's going to happen? Every single discovery here that I used from that data is going to become invalid. And unfortunately, there is no way to fix it. Even if I upload the data again and call it pasta, it's a different file. So this is very important. Just keep it in mind, because I've had people who made that mistake almost on the night when the assignment was due. So make sure you don't make this mistake. Alright? So it's good to show what not to do and what happens when we do, right? So now I'm ready to share this data set with my team. Watch what I'll have to do. I'll click here. This will open my menu. I'm going to select Move. Move, right? Very important, very important. In order to be able to move the file to the shared area, the file must be closed. It's like this. If you see this error, it means that your file is not closed. To close the file, you click on this arrow, and here it's going to show you the list of files that you have open. If you see the asterisk next to the file name, it means that the latest change was not saved. In this case, it's saved. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And speaking of open files, if you open the file, and even if you logged out, right, it does not matter. If you keep the file open, if you log down, you still have the file open. It becomes very important when the file is in a shared folder. When a file is in a shared folder, and if you did not close it at the time when you left your PC, right, you still have the file open, and your classmate cannot edit the file. It does not matter that you're not logged in at the moment. You still have the file open, you still have a lock on that file. So this is important. Even though Watson Analytics lets you share a file, two people cannot edit, or rather two people cannot have the same file open at the same time. And I checked with IBM representative to make sure that this is true. Yes, it is true. Alright, so here what I have to do is I have to move. I have to select move. And now this is what I have to do. What session I'm enrolled in? I'm enrolled in a fall, right? This is what I'm going to see. So you're not going to see other sessions where you're not registered. You'll see where you registered. You're in session 2040, and you're going to see your team. Like right now, I'm in a group 1. I'm going to do move. Now, this is very important. Keep this checkbox checked. Do not make any changes. Why? Because it's highly possible that, what did I just do? I'm gonna hit cancel. But if I do this, that's a problem. Because nobody can see my data set anymore. Nobody means yourself. Right? So here, I'm going to hit cancel. Because you want to be really, really careful. You want to be really careful because I made that mistake before. Right? I made that mistake. And you could make an orphan data set that nobody else could see. And if it happens, you need to contact the administrator. In this case, it's going to be me, and I will see what I can do. Right? If you do this, contact me, and I will see what I can do to recover it. Okay, so now let's go ahead and move it the right way. correct way to do it is to select your folder, right? And it's gonna be, actually, this is what you will see. You will see it like this. You will see it like this. You have to click on the plus to expand the folder, and then you need to find, well, you're not gonna need to look for it because you won't see it as much. But this is my session and this is my group, and I'm gonna hit move, and I'm just gonna leave it as is. By default, it will inherit the permissions that Yelena will set up for this folder, right? Well, it's not gonna show full control. It will give access just to you. The reason it shows now because I did not do the configuration. I just created a folder. I did not do configuration. I will have to do that, and I will do that. Alright? So now it's moved. Alright. Suppose that I'm working together, and suppose that my other teammate is going to be Jim. I just give an example. So what Jim will need to do is, he will need to, when he is, this is just, let's just assume I'm Jim right now. So what he will need to do is he will need to go here and click on shared. Then he will need to click here and expand the folder. And then he will need to find his session. And he is registered in the session, here it is, fall in session 9040. He will need to click here. Look, you're expanding the tree and click on group 1. Now, make sure that you have a data tile selected to see data, right? So here it is. And keep in mind the dependencies. If I was going to share the discovery with my team, I have to share the data. If I was going to share the display, I have to share the data and the discovery, right? And the same thing for the storybook. Same thing. And I need to show you examples of what's wrong. I'll show you an example of what's wrong in order to see how to do it right. But before we do that, look at this. I no longer want to share, right? I'm done. I no longer want to share. To unshare, I click on move, and then I have to select my personal area. I select my personal area, and this is what I unshare. Now, you're not going to see other users. You're not going to see the folders from last semester, right? Personal. Move, right? Okay. Now, see this? This is not an error. This is a warning. What this actually means is that if in my folder, if I have another data set, if I have a discovery rather that I used, for which I used this data set, right? If I use this data set for another discovery, that discovery will be invalid for my team members. If my team members try to open the discovery, they're going to get an error message. It's because I removed the data set. That's what it is. So Jim is going to get an error message. He won't be able to see discovery. Now, I need to show you more examples of dependencies because it really might not make sense when... Okay, so here I created some examples of what not to do. Okay, here is the problem. Somebody shared the storybook with me. I click on a display and I see the storybook, right? I see my storybook. But this is a problem. There is no data and there is no discovery whatsoever. I click on display and I try to open my storybook. Watch. Ah, what's happening? Well, I see that I have 2 top findings and 2 data sets, right? Oh, in fact, I need to be logged in as another user to see it. I need to switch user. Because this user has access to it, I have to switch user, but let's see if it's going to work. My point is, when I don't have access to 2 data sets, right? When I don't have access to the data set, okay, what I have to do is I have to log out and log in as another user. So let me do this. Let me go to another browser. I'm going to log in as another user just to show you this. Okay? I need to show you this because my other user that I have does not have access to that dashboard, right? Sign in. See this? sometimes it's getting this. It's because it's in a cache. It's something in the cache, but I wanted to show you what's gonna happen. Or I could actually log out. I can log out and log back in, but I did not want to do that. Now let's try this. It's gonna take me to the login page. But my point is that you're gonna get an error message if you're trying to open the storybook that you have no access to. So right now, see this, it took me to the sign-in page. And let me do this. Okay. Continue, and I'm gonna log back in. Okay. So let's see what's gonna happen right now. So I'm logged in as another user, right? And this user does not have access to the data in the storybook. I did it intentionally, but let's close this out. Well, what I was trying to show here is that if you don't have access to the data that you use to build the storybook, you're gonna get an error message, right? So, see this, let me go look at this. See this storybook has all files, right? And then I created another storybook that I'm not gonna have access to display. I'm not gonna have access to displays. What I have is just this, and oh yes, excellent. This is what I wanted to show you. Excellent. I got this. Take a look at this. I opened up a storybook, right? This is a storybook. It shows here that I have two top findings, 0 data sets. See this? I have 0 data sets, and I have 2 top findings, no data sets. But take a look at this, what's gonna happen. I click on this dashboard. Aha! Aha! Ay, what's the problem? The problem is I don't have access to my visualizations, right? This is a problem. I know that there should be visualizations, but I don't see it. And I don't see it because I don't have access to it, right? Now, if I click here, there is no data to look at, right? It's because a user who owns this did not upload the data to the shared area, right? This is a folder. I should see the displays in here, they're none, right? So now this is another problem. All right, here I have the Oreo storybook, right? That was created last semester at the demonstration, and I have 3 displays. I have 3 Oreo displays, right? It's there. I'm going to click on my storybook, and I'll try to preview it. Now I see that I have 3 top findings and 1 data set. It's findings that I have a data set, but I have another problem in here. Let me do this. I'm gonna click on the Oreo display, and I'm going to do this. See this? This is the Oreo storybook. Oh, yeah, it's gonna be a problem. What's happening? Oh, did I give myself access to share the data? Let me see. No data available. Why do you think is that? I'm wondering what's going on. Looks like I have access, but I don't have data. This is the error what I'm gonna get, right? I see my tabs, but I see no visualization. Why do you think is that? It's because whoever shared this display with me did not give me access to data. There is no data, right? Therefore, keep in mind the dependencies. If you're uploading the storybook to share with your team, you must have all of the visualizations, all of the discoveries, data, and the displays. Or at least data in displays. I believe it's data in displays. I believe, but we'll see. Now, let me show you something else. There are some sample storybooks that you can... Oh, I showed you how to do it wrong, but I didn't show you how to do it right, right? I didn't show you how to do it right. So see this? This is a storybooks. This is a storybook, and right now I'm going to do this. This one has all files, and see this? Has all files. I have the data, right? This storybook is about the sprite, and I have discoveries, and this is the displays and the dashboard. Here, this is correct. this is supposed to work. It's because I shared everything with my team. And now, when I click on the preview, it's going to be loading as expected, right? I'm not going to get any more errors. I'm going to get my decision tree, and I'm going to get my sentiment by language. I'm going to get all of the visualization working. I realize it might be taking some time to compute it because right now I'm in a Firefox. Firefox works a little bit slower, but I had to do it intentionally. I had to use a user who does not have access to the data set, right? Now, take a look at this. This is correct. It works as expected. I click here and I see one data. I see one data asset, right? It's because there is a dependency, and this is very important. At least one team reproduces the error that I was reproducing. Every semester, at least one team will reproduce it. But I outlined everything in the slides that you will get. All right. So now let's go back here, and there is a collection of the sample storybooks. Well, of course, you're not going to turn it in for grading, but sometimes it's a great idea to see examples. Right? I'm going to click on Analytics Exchange, and here this is called Expert Storybooks, and those are the examples, right? And if I find one that I like, I can just import it. I can pick any one, like for instance, I want this one, and I click on it, and I'm going to click on import. I'll make sure that this is free. At this time, most of it is free. I'm going to click on import, and I'm going to click another import. See this? I'm importing it. What it will do is it will create a subfolder called imported, and it will add the data set that it used to build the storybook, right? There could be more than one. It will add the data set, and it will add all of the displays that you used to create the storybook, right? That's what it will do. So that's what it's saying. It says creating related asset. The related asset means that the data set, it also means the dashboards, and it also means all of the I believe it does not upload the displays. It's uploading it uploading the dashboard infographics if there are any, right, and the storybook. So I'm gonna close this, and what I could do here, I can just click here and explore the pages that are in there for me, and this is a note, and I can add more than one note. All right, we call it annotation, and I can just browse through all the tabs, and I can also ask my own questions. I can ask my own questions, right, if I want to, and keep adding to the storybook. But for right now, I'm going to exit out. So yes, that's something to keep in mind. The more visualization you put in the tab, the longer the tab may take to load. Alright, so let's do this. Let's click here. Watson Analytics. I'm trying to go back to the landing page, and I want to show you what was done. In your personal area, when you load the first storybook, when you upload the first storybook, you will see this folder here, and it's going to be called imported. This folder is called imported. So when you click here, you're gonna see it. It creates a separate subfolder for each storybook that you import. So this is a storybook name, right? Look, personal, imported, and a separate folder for the storybook. Because when I click here, displays, it uploaded all of the displays, right? This is called asset. Those are the displays that I use inside the storybook. When I click on the imported here, this is my storybook, right? So basically there is a dependency between the storybook, well, it didn't put the discovery, but you want to put the data and you want to put the displays at least. If you're still getting an error, you may want to put the discoveries in there. right? So that is very important. Now let me go back to the slides. See, I have a copy of slides here. I need to make sure I showed you everything. I showed you how to import the Twitter data, right? And we talk about these different criteria. You can change, you can adjust the date range, right? That's adjustable. And you put, in order to enter the hashtags, you have to put the hash in front of each hashtag, right? The maximum number of hashtags is 10, and I can search, I can specify perhaps 2 hashtags, and I want to get the tweets that include both terms, or I can return tweets that include either term. And you do this, usually you do this when you have synonyms, right? Like for example, pasta, right? I can search for specific pasta name. I'm just giving an example, right? Now let's go back. I missed first 5 minutes. Can you give general? Let me take a look at this. Look. Okay, can you give a general example of how to add Twitter data? Absolutely. Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at it again. This is excellent question, and let me take a look at this again. So here it is. I'm gonna click on new data. This is a new data, and I'm going to select Twitter for my source, right? I'm gonna select Twitter for my source. Here I have to enter the hashtags. Hashtag is my search criteria. I can go up to 10, right? So now remember that I selected import and then I selected Twitter. Here I just enter my search criteria, and I did a search for the pasta. Now I can do rice. I'm just giving you an example. By default, it's gonna pick 1 week. It's gonna go by 1 week. All right. Now I'm gonna hit show estimates. See this? When I click on show estimates, it shows me the number of tweets that were picked up. If I pick too many tweets, I can change the date range to be more narrow. Or if I get too little tweets, I can get a wider range, right? I can do the wider date range. And now I just click on import. That was it. And oops, I made a mistake. The mistake I made was I put it in the wrong folder, but that can be fixed. It can be fixed. For the assignment, yes, you're gonna choose the search criteria. You're gonna choose the topic, rather, and the data will be fetched on that topic. Like I've entered rice, and it's going to pick up the tweets that contain the term rice. If I entered pasta, it's gonna pick up the tweets that contain the term pasta, right? And secretly, it's only searching 10% of tweets. It's it's searching 10%. And after this class, you're gonna have slides, and in the slides there is a link. Here is a link. This web page, it shows you the tweets metadata. So that's the structure of the data set. The structure is going to be the same regardless of a topic, but it will help you understand what exactly you are looking at, right? So I think I didn't show you everything. There is also the bonus part, but the condition is we'll need to listen through the end to get to the bonus part, the joins, right? So here, this is the Twitter data, and here I'm just briefly summarizing what the Twitter data is. So let me close the chat for now. Okay, so here I'm just summarizing. You get the author information, you get the message information, right? So here I'm just basically saying that you can do what you have been doing, refining, defining the calculations, and so on. Now here I'm giving you examples of what you can do. You can do the visualizations. This is what we did, right? Here I did an example of the stat plot, right? I did not do this, but for the pie chart there is an option. You can pick the donut, right? You can pick, basically when you go in the properties, when you go to the visualization, you can pick you can pick the donut, sorry, discover, and it's in my other folder. Okay, personal. It's in personal, and then I'm gonna get into the, yeah, I pretended I was doing assignment 4. It's good to pretend, right? So here, there's a bunch of visualizations, and there is one where I'm doing a pie chart, but I made it look as a donut, because if you click on a format, there is an option. There is an option to do this. Anyway, it might be in here. It might be in here. But the pie chart has an option to show it as a pie chart, or it has an option to show it as a donut. So basically, it's similar idea, but you're just not gonna have the middle part. It's a similar idea. So see, the reason you want to name your class descriptive is because you wanted to be able to find it easily, right? So I have a lot of stuff in here. It's because I was just trying. Watson Analytics, they do. Hopefully, all of you received the schedule, maintenance schedule. There are times when you should avoid accessing the system, because that's the times when they keep on improving, they keep on adding enhancements to the visualizations. So to do this one, do you remember we did the time plot? So I went here, you could go here and you can change the format. See this, you can change the variations. And here, I did the show line. This is how I went to the line chart. I picked 2 lines, and I can further change how my data points look like, right? So basically, you have a lot of options, and you have the different ways to visualize the same concept, right? The same thing can use different visualization. Oh, it might be here. I'll get to it. But the more you have in your discovery book, you bet the longer it's gonna take to load, right? The more you have, the longer it takes to load. But actually, on the slide, I'm showing you how to do it. That's it. You click on a format, and then you click as a donut. So you have a visualization called a pie chart. If this is not checked, it's gonna do pie chart. If this is checked, it's gonna do donut. That's so simple, huh? Now, here I'm just summarizing how to do this, the heat map, right? That's what I showed you. And I made sure that it shows the multiplier, right? Some of you asked me what these things mean. At the bottom, this is called the data slot, right? And you just put the variable in there, and there is one that stands for vertical axis, horizontal axis, and a color code. Right, so here you can do the time plot, you can do the word clouds, you can do the networks, you can do the decision trees. Yes, you can. But keep in mind the decision tree may or may not work for some searches. Remember that the same model may work for one data, may not work for the other, right? Similar, for instance, if you're looking at the linear regression model, you know that not all points can be put in line, right? Not all points lie in a single line. So the same model may work for one data, may not work for the other, right? So you could do the summary tables. And this one is a measure table. I just summarized how to do it, right? I like to summarize. So that way, after this, you can try to see if you can reproduce it, right? So here I put a summary of what the difference is between the dashboard and infographics and what they have in common. Remember, you may use the predefined layouts for both. They're both interactive, and you may use existing discovery, create a new one, and you can use both of them in a storybook. But the differences are that multi-tab, single tab, right? And the filters. And here I just summarize how to create infographics. Well, I like to go through the slide to make sure that I showed you everything that I wanted to show, right? So this is basically shows you that you can click scissors. Remember, this is a focus mode, and I can edit my discovery while I am within the display, right? And here I'm just put the steps on how to create the storybook. It's gonna take few storybooks to get comfortable with it, right? And this is remember, if you have a pencil and eyeglasses, if you see the pencil, it means you're currently in a view mode. Even you see the eyeglasses, you're currently in a edit mode, right? And this is how you see the data. Remember, you can see the data that you use to create the storybook, and this is a dataset name, and it's gonna match the dataset name that you have on your data tab, right? Somewhere. It should be either in your personal area or in the area where you can access, right? So here I'm just showing you that when you go to the landing page, and you're going to see this. See this? The display in the storybook. Personal. There is a storybook here. Basically, you have the same options. You can rename it. You can share. But you can delete it, but keep in mind that if you do that, it will be gone forever. Something else here is that you can save multiple copies of the dashboard, but you cannot save multiple copies of the storybook. I asked. Because see, for the dashboard, you can save a copy to your personal area, or you can save a copy to your teammates folders, right? You can save a copy to your area as a backup, and save the main copy to your team folder. You cannot do this with a storybook, so you need to be extra careful when you work as a team. When you delete something, it's gone, right? It's a sad story, but it happened to one of my teams before. It's a sad story when one member accidentally deleted the work done by other group members. So thankfully the team had screenshots to submit, but we need to be really careful with the storybooks because you cannot save it as a copy, right? So now this is Analytics Exchange page where you have sample storybooks and you can look at them. And for two of the storybooks by Maximo, you can actually watch the video. I made sure you have those links to watch the videos. And here I'm just summarizing the difference between personal and shared, right? So this is how to access a group folder, and you're gonna have a refresher. I'll repeat this. You will see I believe it was a handout last semester, or actually another recording. I recorded the instructions. So now you want to make sure that the file is closed when you want to share. And this is an example of, this just showing you the shared area and what you could do, right? You can change, you can toggle between tile layout and list, basically almost same options as a personal area, almost same, right? So I'm just put the steps on how to copy, how to move the file to the group folder. This is just the steps here. Remember this picture. This is what not to do. You're not gonna put file in the root of the shared folder, right? This will be deleted. So, but to explain what not to do, I need to put an example. This is an example of the file that's due for deletion, right? Here, I just showed you the dependencies. If I pull access to the data from the team will not be able to open the discoveries, right? There's going to be an error. So here, I just put a picture for you, the relationship. So I have 3 data sets. I use the first data set to create the discovery, then I put display. See, this is a dependency. If I delete something in this chain, if I delete the display, I have a problem. If I delete the data set, I have a problem, right? So we have to be really careful here. And these are the examples that I showed you. What's going to happen if you don't have access to the files, right? And it's always good. Now, this is a bonus part, and I'll show you how to join to data. So I want to be on this account. Now take a look at this data. I have data and I have two tables here. I have two tables that have one field in common. One field in common. So now let me click on the retailer activity. Not click rather, I'm gonna do the refine. Look, I have the retailer activity information, right? Retailer, this is important. This is a code. Each retailer is uniquely. Oh wait, yes. In general, each retailer has a unique code, right? In general, this is an activity for every retailer. So there is more than one activity for each retailer. And I have a separate data with details about the retailer. What I want to see is, I want to add retailer's information here. I don't know what the number means, right? I want to see everything in one spreadsheet, right? So to do that, this is what I have to do. I need to click on this plus sign first, and I need to add the second data into this. I need to add this into this data set. Look what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna click on personal, and I'm gonna scroll down, and I'm gonna find it. I believe I called it retail or something, right? So I have to find this, and here it is. This is a retailer. What I'll do right now, I'm gonna add it to the second tab, and I'm gonna click OK, right? Now, take a look at this. I have retailer activity, and I have an information about the retailer, right? This table has what? Retailer code in common, right? To find out the information about the retailer, such as retailer name, I would have to do that manually, I would have to look at the code, and then I would have to go back here and look up the code, right? I would have to do that. But this is so laborious. Is there an easy way to do that? I don't want to look up each code individually. Well, what I could do is, I'm going here. This is a join. I do this, and I'm gonna see, when I do this, I'm gonna see two tables here, right? So now, there are several types of joins. I can display the retailer information even if there is no activity for that retailer, or I can display the retailer information only if there is at least one activity, right? So here is the retailer code, and I need to find the retailer code in here. Is that it? Could be. Nope, that's not it. Oh, I have to scroll down. So what I have to do, I have to find the retailer code. Oh, here it is. So watch. I click on this arrow, and I'm going to connect these two. So what this does is, I say to join these two tables on the retailer code, right? So now, when I go to my preview, take a look at this. So this is the first table, retailer activity, and this is the second table. See this? I need to match the retailer code from the first table with the retailer code in the second table. This is called the inner join, because I want to make sure that I select only the matching rows, right? Alternatively, I could, if I had time, I could play around and select information about all retailers, even if they don't have activities, right? It's possible. It used to be possible. There used to be a way to pick. Oh yeah, it's in the bottom. See this? Over here. Over here, I have an option. Right now, I'm only selecting the matching rows. I could select all retailers that don't have an activity and all activities that don't have a retailer, if this is the case, right? But the reason you have data in two data sets is because to avoid the repetitions. If I have to update the name, I'm only updating it once, right? So there we go. This is a joint data. Ooh. So now I have to close this. And this is how the data set is going to look like, right? So I showed you that. And we are almost done. So this is how the join data looks like. And this is a list of resources. And one of these web pages is a structure. Yes, so you have the structure here. Yeah. So those are the storybooks resources. And we are done. I did not keep you up until morning, but I want you to ask questions. I love questions. Any questions? Well, if there are no questions, then Yelena will start asking questions. You will keep in mind the dependencies, right? And somewhere in a couple weeks from now, when your instructor assigned you to the study group, I'm going to create groups. I'm going to create group folders in Leo to group folders in Watson Analytics to match the group assignment in Leo. So if you were assigned to the team 1, you're going to see the group 1 folder. And you're going to see the semester, right? The folder name has a naming convention. Yeah. Are you allowed to choose? Well, that's going to be up to the instructor. It will be up to the instructor's decision how to assign the study group. But this is an excellent question, though. This is an excellent. Yeah. So, yes, absolutely. I will share this. As soon as the recording is ready, I believe it takes about, what, half an hour to an hour of recording to be ready. As soon as I send this recording, yes, you will definitely have these slides. Yes. Because these slides, I have a copy saved on my PC. All I need to do to share is to email it to your instructors. And your instructor will share it with you in turn. Yeah. I mean, no problem. All I have to do is just send an email. It doesn't take longer than a minute. Yeah. So, more questions? I love questions. Well, but I mean, keep in mind, question and answer session does not end tonight. You can always post questions to your TAs, or if there is an issue related to your account, then I'll see what I can do. Yeah. If something requires admin attention, such as well, there could be numerous reasons. You don't have access to your folder, anything like that. This is very easy to fix. If you happen don't see your study group folder, very simple fix. Very easy. So as soon as you are assigned to the group, as soon as you notified that the folders are created, check it just to make sure you have access, correct access, right? But yeah. So what's the best way to take? Okay, let me look at the chat. Okay, the question is, what is the best way to take the display to the Word document except taking a screenshot? Oh, you can download them. Take a look at this. If I go back to the displays, there is an option to download it. Oh, once you know the warning icon, how do you ignore the warning? Well, to ignore the warning, there is there was a button. Okay, there was an OK button. So now let's go ahead, quickly do this display. See, like I'm in the display right now. I click on the display. Do you see this? Do you see this here? But this works well in a Google Chrome. It does not work well in Internet Explorer for some reason. See this? I can do share. I do the share, and then I can download my images, or I can email the images to myself, or I can go download, right? I save it, and then I can import the image to the Word file, right? This is another way. I just download it and then I import it. Yeah. Yep. But okay, so let me look. But it also, you might want to also check the instructor's expectations for the deliverable. Okay, let's see. So once you note the warning icon. How do you remove the warning? Oh, that's an excellent question. It depends on what the warning is. Like in one of my visualization, I saw the warning. It's because it could not pick up at least 80% of the locations. I just ignored it. It depends on what it says. Uh, Something like what we saw today, I just ignore it. Then there was one warning when I tried to move the data set, it was not closed. Well, I just go ahead and close it and then proceed. It depends on the error message, basically. Yeah. It's showing that, okay. Is it showing that you use the discovery set? Will it show you if the discovery set share column from other multiple data sets? Yes, it does. In the storybook, it does. In the storybook, it does. Yeah. Uh, what is this? Shared, well, I'm not quite sure what the question is. Oh, well, sharing dataset is the same process. Yes, to share the dataset, to share discovery, you follow the same process. You have to just move it to share your discovery with the team, you just move it to your team folder. Yeah, it's the same process. Because, see this? When I go here, look, when I go here, I just click here and there is move. And I follow the same steps. Oh, see this? I cannot do it because it's open. So, what? See this? Okay, now I'm gonna be answering two questions at the same time. The question was, what do you do when you get a warning? This is a warning. Well, I just click OK, and I just do whatever I need to do to resolve the warning. It was telling me that I have it open, then I just need to close it. That's it, very easy, right? So now I can move it. See this? I select move and I select the location. Ah, you can move it because something is open. And why is it open? Oh, well, it's because, see this here, I didn't close it. I didn't close it, I closed something else. Alright? Now, remember it. See, now it works. Now it works. And now I would have to select the folder and so on. Same steps, right? So you share the same steps to share the discovery as you do in the data set. To share, basically, it's another way you're moving it to the shared folder. Share is equivalent to move, right? So this is the same process. Hopefully, I'm answering the questions. Okay, if I build a storybook based on someone else's shared data set, that's a problem. Will storybook warn me that is based on a shared folder? Well, you can see it, right? Well, take a look at this. If I go to my storybook and if I switch to the, see this? I'm going to swap to the, oops, I need to be in the edit mode, right? I'm in the edit mode right now. I click on the displays. Over here, I can see the source. Now it's gonna load and take a look at the scissors under my, this is a storybook name and underneath it says personal. It means that this guy here is sitting in my personal area. And then when I scroll down, this is a storybook location. This is a storybook. That tells me the group that created the storybook. So this was, see this was a couple semesters ago. The team too, they created it, so I can see it right here. It's right here. Yeah. So yes, the answer is yes. So people who had questions, thank you, and let me know if I didn't answer it or if I partially answered it, because I want to make sure everybody's questions are answered. And I realize it's 10, but we want to make sure that we get the questions answered. So let me see. Any more questions? Is there anything important that I may have forgotten to say? Steve, is there anything I forgot to say?
No, I think we've covered everything that'll get them started and going. You want me to go ahead and stop the recording? I think. Let me go
Mm-hmm.
ahead and do that.
and I will send the slides.